Hey, what's going on? My name is Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In each episode, we'll explore topics that inspire you to be yourself, live your truth, and make lasting connections. In this episode, we're going to talk about breaking no contact with family. Here are 3 powerful lessons that I learned about breaking no contact, the expectations, what to do, if it's right for you to break no contact, if you're struggling to connect with your family. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, the holiday season is over. Who else is happy about that? Woo! I know I am. I don't really do too much of the holidays, just because I've had no real great, fun, joyful traditions around the holidays. And I think that's why I shy away from them. I don't like to celebrate them. And I've had to actually turn them into a new kind of, create a new kind of tradition for it, right? So I've been doing that for the last 5 years or so, just creating new traditions, looking what fits for me. But most people want to go home to their family because the entire country, it seems like the United States, everyone's like, you got to go home for your holidays. You got to go be with your family and you have to connect with them. And even if you weren't from a terribly abusive family, if you felt like you were the black sheep, or you felt like you didn't belong there, or you felt like you were underappreciated or overworked, or you're invalidated, then you would have trouble returning to that place because you wouldn't find joy in it. And you have the rest of the world saying, hey, you need to go back. You need to go be there. Just stuff your feelings. Eat that turkey. Eat the sides, whatever it is, get that mac and cheese, talk a little bit of ish about each other. And that's what family does. And it's not a big deal. But if you are sensitive and you feel your feelings or you feel invalidated, you cannot find joy in that space. And it's hard for you to want to go there. And then you have other people telling you that you need to be there. It just makes it a bit hellish. So the holiday season is hard for a lot of people, especially if you don't have those social connections or that connection with your family, that picture perfect relationship that everyone seems to pretend to have. But if you don't have that and you've decided that, look, you don't want to talk to your family, you really need to sort stuff out, then these holidays are tricky and they're difficult for those reasons. You don't find the joy in going into the space, and there's external pressure for you to go to the space regardless of how you feel. And when I say it out loud, I'm thinking that is just another representation of the world saying, or your experiences around the holidays, where you're around people who don't care about what you want, don't care about your needs, to just be there for the sake of being there. So you've got people outside of you. You're estranged or away from your family. You've created space between you and your family. And you've got strangers or you've got other friends saying, go home. You got to be there. It's another example of this feeling where no one cares about your feelings. So being in no contact, if you're in that space, of course, it just makes sense. You want to sort out those feelings. You want to be away from the thing that causes you pain and frustration and suffering, and you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to go to a space where they talk about how your job is awful and you need a better job, or you're not doing enough, or you're not helping enough. You need to get a new partner. They complain about everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying, how you're showing up. They don't want your pronouns. They don't care about your pronouns. They don't care about your new ideologies. They don't care if you're vegan or anything like that. They just want you to be the way that you were when you were a kid, and you have changed. So, of course, you want to avoid that space. So now I talked about all the no contact, the reason why you would not be in contact. But sometimes aside from the external pressure, from people telling you got to go home for the holidays. I had somebody really say to me, I just hate when people are alone for the holidays. I just really hate it. It's so awful. Everybody should be with family. And I was like, ugh. They're trying to put a little bit of pressure, it seemed, on me that I maybe need to change my mind or do something different. But with all that being said, and with that external pressure, aside from that, there's probably some internal curiosity. There could be some internal curiosity that happens that makes you want to break no contact. You might see a couple of things. Maybe your family posts things on social media and you look at them and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe they do feel, or maybe they sent you a text message and, maybe they have shown you a little bit of glimmer of light, of hope that they're really interested in you, and you get a little bit of curiosity. You get curious and you're like, I think I want to break no contact. I'm not responding to the messages, but they're sending them to me and I'm reading them. I'm not talking to them, but I see them. So maybe I want to break no contact. Maybe enough time has passed. Maybe you think inside of your head, maybe they haven't talked to you. You think enough time has passed and you think, you know what? It is the holidays and I am feeling kind of been maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe. I haven't, maybe, because I grew. Maybe I should see how things are going with them. Maybe I should see if I'm being too harsh and maybe they've learned something. I have been posting a lot on social media and I kind of know they read it, so maybe, So if you're in this mindset, this curiosity mindset, or if you're feeling the pressure or desire, wherever it comes from, the internal or external desire to go meet your family, to go break that no contact, here are 3 things that I want you to keep in mind, okay? Because I've been on my own personal journey. I've created physical, emotional, financial space, as I talk about, to connect with myself, to learn what my own issues were. So I created that space and I've done the work. And this past holiday season, I went from spending, the holidays going to be spent alone. I went to go see my family and I spent an entire month there. And the prompt was not really a curiosity thing. It wasn't external pressure either. It was more that there was a medical emergency. And I was like, nobody asked me. They just informed me. Nobody asked me to return. They just informed me. And I was like, okay, I got to go. So, by the way, that's where I've been for the last few weeks. I mean, you missed a couple podcast episodes because I wasn't able to produce them before I left. But I spent a month there after being no contact, after just really pushing everybody away so I can have my own sanity. And I made some quick decisions about my values and what I wanted and what I needed. I decided to go, right? And I can tell you that it was the best time I've ever had with my family in my entire life. It was the best time that I've ever had with my family in my entire life. I don't want to say that time heals all wounds, because it doesn't. So I said there are 3 things I want you to keep in mind, and that's one of them. Time does not heal all wounds. It does not heal all wounds. So when you go into this space, you have to know that people aren't doing the same work that you're doing. Old dynamics will resurface unless you address them directly. I imagine it's something like, they're all doing the things that they've done since you were a kid. They're talking the same way. They're experiencing the same things. They're treating each other the same way that they treat each other when you were a kid or when you were younger, when you decided that you were just not going to do any contact anymore. They're still doing the same thing. So their patterns of behavior are going to show up when they talk to you. They're going to show up how they talk to you. Old dynamics will resurface unless you address them directly. So when you go into this space, keep in mind, time does not heal all wounds. You might be triggered. You might be. You have to be prepared for that. The second thing I want to let you know, I want you to think about, want you to consider, is that this is your work. You do not expect them to change. The growth depends on how you respond. So your relationships, if you want this to be a new chapter, you are going to be the one that's going to be different. This is your work. You cannot expect them to be different people. You cannot expect them to show up in a different way. If they do, fantastic. Wonderful. We love it. If you feel heard and understood, great. But I'll tell you what, if you go in lecturing them about how they need to be different, about how you need to have your boundaries respected, how they need to do this, that, and the third, you are going to fall flat in your face. Actually, you're going to fall right into the same pattern that you were in before. Because all you did was argue. All they did was make demands of you, and now you make demands of them. Don't expect them to change. It's about you doing the work. So if you decide to go back, you need to be thinking about how you're not going to be blaming and judging. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to do when I was there. But I was like, no, that doesn't work. Everything I'm talking to you about, it doesn't work. Going and blaming and judging, that's just activating the same kind of pattern. The third thing that I want to have you keep in mind is that you are both the cause and the cure. And what I mean by that is that your presence may trigger old patterns, like I was saying. Your presence may trigger old patterns, but it is your responsibility to set the tone with healthier responses. It's your responsibility to set the tone. It's you who is not going to raise your voice, because that's what you did before. You know, because you've been gone for 2, 3, 5 years, things have changed, and they may want to blame you for that. Oh, you're a nice trigger. You're a nice lightning rod for them to bring all their drama and pain and frustration to you. And they might not even say it to you directly. They might say it a roundabout way. They might start a fight with you. You are the cause, the trigger, by just being there. Your existence is just there. You have to know that. It has nothing to do with you personally. It is their growth and their situation. It's what they were used to do. It's what they were used to doing. They just reenacted, like, oh, you're back. This is what we do. Like giving somebody a basketball. You dribble it. This is what I do when I see a basketball. I dribble it. This is what I do when I see you. We fight with you. We blame you. We dump stuff on you. You're part of the family. That's just how things go. Ugh. I want you to remember that you are the cause, in the sense that you're a nice lightning rod. You're an external representation of the frustrations or the fears or whatever's happening with them. And they're going to do what they do. But you're also the cure, in the sense that you cannot, if you do not go back to those old patterns, if you do not participate in this dance that they do, where they see you and they start shame, embarrassment, guilt, something like that, if you respond to it in a different way, they have no choice but to do something different. If you decide that you're not going to participate in it, my brother says that quite a bit. You decide whether you're going to participate. Decide if you're going to participate in this or not. If you're going to do the things that you did before, then you're going to get the same stuff. But you can cure up the situation by providing a new experience for them. A new experience in which you're not raising your voice and you're just having a conversation. Or you're making points, or you're not pointing fingers. You're not being judging. You're not being blaming. You're giving compliments. You're doing something else. But you will get healthier responses. So here are the 3 things. Time does not heal all wounds. Don't expect things to be different. 2, this is your work. Don't expect them to be different. Don't expect them to change. And it's going to be hard for you, and it's going to feel like you're doing all the heavy lifting. 3, you're both the cause and the cure. Just being there is going to trigger some patterns, but it's up to you to decide how you're going to handle them. So reconnecting, if you decide to go back in, the last thing I want to leave you with is the purpose of going back. If you go back and you expect them to be different because time has passed, because they're doing the work, because you think they're doing the work, or you saw some kind of text message that says, oh, this is hopeful, you may be in a bit of trouble. I don't want you to go back and do that. You have to have intention around why you're connecting with them in the first place. And I always like to focus on me. I always like to know what my needs, wants, and desires are before I go into any situation, especially a highly explosive or emotionally charged situation as dealing with family members. Keeping these things in mind and having a strategy for me has made it the best visit I've ever had, like the absolute best visit. And I plan on visiting again in a couple of months because I said I'd return. It was such a nice time that I'm going to keep this in mind again still. And I believe that we'll have a really fun and more connecting time. It's not based on any holiday or anything like that. Just I want to visit and I want to talk more. And I want to discover more. I really do want to be connected with my family members. I realize that this is all my work, so it is all your work too. Keep what I said in mind. You've got this. Do you want to feel more included at work or make a close friend to share your deepest thoughts and secrets with? In my 12-week coaching program, you will get step-by-step directions on exactly how to do that. And no, you're not going to learn to be interesting, entertaining, or outgoing because that's not authentically you. You will get powerful skills to overcome the fear of being misunderstood, judged, or laughed at so you can say what you really want to say. And if you don't know how to start the conversation, don't know what to talk about, or don't know where to find people that want to listen to you, this program is for you. You are going to learn strategic vulnerability. It's a powerful skill where you will discover your authentic self and set boundaries so that you can remove toxic relationships from your life and never open up to the wrong person again. Between now and the end of the year, I have room available for just a few new clients to join my VIP coaching program. If you want to start your new year off with the skills to make more meaningful relationships, then don't wait to make this change. Apply at the link in the show notes. Now it's time for your listener letters. If you'd like me to give you actionable steps to create more meaningful relationships with something that's happening with you in your life, you can write me at patternsofpossibility@gmail.com and I might read it here on the show. Someone I consider a friend feels like a complete stranger to me now. Here's the backstory. We've known each other for close to 20 years. The last few, though, felt like they were forced interactions. I used to genuinely love spending time with her, but our last trip I completely hated. Last year specifically, I feel like she's only interested in talking when it's convenient for her. She'd text and I'd reply, or I'd inquire what's going on, and I get no response. Anything I tried to plan, she declined. I even started mirroring how she's been communicating wise, and she hasn't noticed. The more I think about how we've interacted over the span of this friendship, I keep landing on I was putting in more than she was, unless it was something that interested her. Would it be best to just tell her I don't really want to be friends anymore, or should I try speaking to her about how I feel? Well, this is a great question, of course. Every question I pick is a great question. It's a great question. I appreciate that you wrote it. Yeah, so I've been 20 years, so that's a long time to just throw away a relationship. I use throw away because that's what you put in here. 20 years. I always advocate for a discussion. Like some people, I haven't known very long. I've already seen their patterns of behavior, and I know that they're not a really great fit for me. I'm willing to have a brief conversation but not more of an explanation. Like, I don't want to hear your whys about why you continually showed up late or why you didn't ask about how I was doing. I just figured that's a part of your character and that's who you are. I'm 40 years old, and when I talk to people who are around this age who are like that, who I'm making connections with, I just think, well, that's just not part of their thing. And furthermore, I don't want to teach them to do it. I don't want to teach them to reach out to me. I don't want to cajole them to contact me. And I don't want to try and fight them to respond to text messages that I send out to make plans. I don't want to do that. And so I realized, well, that's what you do. I don't want to hear your explanation of why you couldn't or why you can't or why you don't. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. I'm telling you, when you get this age, I'm 40, 41, be 42 this year. When you get this age, you look at these relationships and you think about how much time you have left and how maybe you've done the work and how you worked really hard to be intentional about connections, because it's not easy. It's really not easy to maintain relationships when you have a full-time job. Maybe if you have a partner, if you have kids, it's even more difficult. You have other things to do to survive, but this is part of it. This is part of it. I mean, making connections is part of it. And you don't want to teach people to want to be with you, because that's even more work that will feel like an obligation. You didn't sign up for that. You signed up for a buddy who understands, appreciates, and accepts you and will communicate with you the way you want to. So I said all that to say is that when I make new connections with people, if they don't show up the way I want them to show up, I have a conversation about it. I give them 3. I think maybe you've heard me say this on the podcast. I give them 3 and say, hey, this is something that was disappointing. And we talk. Not a long talk. And the second time it's like, okay, hey, wait, whoa, hey. If they've shown signs that they could be a good friend, but if this is a red flag or something, this is something I need to pay attention to or address, I'm going to have a conversation with them. And the reason why I do this is because I don't want to leave any space for me to think shoulda, coulda, woulda. What if I had talked to them, they just didn't know that they weren't doing the thing I wanted them to do or needed them to do? I don't want to leave space for that, so I have the conversation. And these are for connections that I recently met. So definitely for those people that I've known for a very long time, who have become accustomed to, who I've grown to adore and appreciate, who have been in my life, I definitely want to have a conversation with them. I want to be intentional about the conversation. Now, see, it gets kind of tricky because you think, well, after 20 years, they pick up on the signals and the signs. But they're not. And if you spent 20 years with them, you were like, look, sit down. Hey, sit down. Listen, this is something that's happening, and I need you to fix it. Of course, you don't come off with that tone, but hey, listen, I need you to show up differently. Here are my grievances, or here's how I feel about our last interactions. This is what I want to talk about. You make that time to carve it out. You be intentional about wanting to have that conversation. That's what I would do. I'd make sure to communicate that with them and communicate all my feelings, and I give them a shot. Give them another one. I give them a chance because it's been 20 years. But I give them 3. Right? I give them 3. I give them 3. 1, because perhaps, they've been in this pattern for 20 years and you hadn't noticed, but this is how they always behaved. And suddenly you're becoming more aware of the pattern. But they've been doing it for 20 years. So just because you say it to them doesn't mean that things are going to change right away. So I give them an opportunity, because I know if people told me, hey, you need to change something that you've done for so long, I'm like, what do you mean? Oops, I forgot that you didn't like XYZ and I did XYZ. Oops. It's just a part of my pattern. I've been doing that for so long. So I give them some grace, right? The first time. And the second time you have a conversation, whatever it is that they do that slips, they're not texting you, they're not responding to your messages. The next time I'm like, okay, hey, you're not responding to our messages. Remember we talked about this the first time? Remember how it's impacting me? Okay, just letting you know that this sucks and it's hurting our friendship. If you care about our friendship, you'll fix this. And so give them that grace. And the third time, we have another conversation. And by that time, I'm like, okay, well, girl, boy, dude, they, them, whoever you are, hey, you don't care. Either you don't care or you're not capable. And I got to come to terms with that. You've got to come to terms with that. You're throwing away 20 years. You've got to come to terms with their life has changed in the way that it no longer aligns with you. And I'm not saying to throw it away, because I want to step it down here too. If you're really close, then you're not as close. You may only be able to connect with each other on specific kinds of occasions. You just have to accept that's how your relationship is going to be. It's not going to be as close as it was before because things have changed. You have to make that adjustment. So I wouldn't say I don't want to really be friends anymore. I want to talk about, I'd suggest that you talk about how you felt first. And then if it didn't work out because they're not capable or they don't care, then you get to move them a little further away from you and your connections. You don't have to discard them completely. Right? Okay, so best of luck to you. I hope to hear how it goes. Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast, share with someone who you think could benefit from this information, and follow me on social media. You can find me at Patterns of Possibility on all social media. And don't forget to sign up for my newsletter at patternsofpossibility.com, where you will get actionable steps delivered to your mailbox every week. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care.